Ever wonder why Red disappeared? Well, stay tuned, because we are going to be looking back at one of the most popular questions ever. Yeah, Trainer Red. This could apply to almost any protagonist, but what happened to Red after the game was over? Red is a bit more special because Trainer Gold, also known as Ethan, actually encountered Red 2 years later, and then he was gone, seemingly for good. I was asked to redo this theory, and since it's been years, I'm happy to do so. So sign in and get ready to look back on one of my most popular theories I ever covered. So one of the last known locations for Red was standing on Mount Silver, and that seems like a pretty good place to start. After the events of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, it is assumed that Trainer Red caught all of the Pokemon. And if we mix in Pokemon Origins with this, technically he did, except for Mew. The point of this theory is to try to figure out where Red was between the events of Generation 1 and 2's timeline, and why. Think about this for a moment. If people say Red was just sitting on Mount Silver, then how could he survive being up there for so long? I will talk about that in a moment, but let me explain why it isn't likely he was going to stay at Mount Silver. There are a few factors at play here. The main one being that Red was on the peak of Mount Silver in a short sleeve shirt and seemingly no cold weather protection at all. Doesn't that seem strange to you? It's not only freezing on top of a mountain, but on Mount Silver it's currently hailing and snowing at all times. That means it has to be less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit to maintain the snow on the ground and continue snowing. And not only that, but Red has no protection. No building, nothing against the wind or any other elements. On top of all that, in order for someone to climb a mountain, they usually have to train. You can't just one day live on top of a mountain, or even if a person did, they couldn't stay on a mountaintop for extended periods of time. Due to the air supply being thinner, but also being held on, and the constant 32 degrees doesn't seem like a welcoming place to make someone's home. So we have one young boy who has 6 Pokemon, no winter gear, no protection from the elements, standing on one of the tallest mountains in Johto. It seems legit. I know what's coming though. People will say, but Proto, he could have eaten the fruit from his Venusaur, kept warm with Snorlax and Charizard, and drank water from Blastoise and Lapras. And I agree, comment section. But there are a few things about that also. Not all of those Pokemon were immune to hail, so it wouldn't be long before they were knocked out and fairly useless. With the wild Pokemon in the area, Red would have to at least use one of those Pokemon to fend them off. Lest we forget what happens when you have no Pokemon. Okay, so the simple reply would be that he just goes back to the Pokemon Center and heals up his Pokemon. Again, I would agree that is a viable concern. But there is one small thing I will talk about later with that. Knowing that Red could stay on top of the mountain for a long time, if he made constant trips back and forth to the Pokemon Center, is Mount Silver really where Red disappeared to? Yes, but why? To capture the last Pokemon, Mew. Mew is an elusive Pokemon, so rare that it's considered an illusion. After failing to find Mew in Kanto and venturing to the next region, it was the next best course of action. Let's just assume that Red knew something about Mount Silver, and if he had a hunch or somebody tipped him off, he would have to train for quite some time to be able to stay on Mount Silver for extended periods of time, which is exactly what Red does. He just stands there, looking, waiting for something. And I think that something was Mew. Now, there are 3 answers to this theory that explain everything, and I already went over the first one, but I will summarize it one more time. Red wanted to catch Mew to complete the Pokedex. Working to this goal, he went to Mount Silver on a hunch or a tip-off, trained to climb and stay on top of Mount Silver for months to years just to wait for Mew to appear. And he just kept waiting and waiting. That seems like more of a plausible explanation than any other one. Explanation 2 is a bit more out there. In a previous theory, I discussed how Red was a ghost and had died. Very few people could see him, and that's why he never talked or people couldn't hear him. And while that seems wild and outlandish, it also explains Red's ability to stand in a hailstorm with a short sleeve shirt on and no winter gear. And the third and final explanation. Red went to Mount Silver looking for Mew, saw so many new Pokemon and lost his mind, realizing that Professor Oak had lied to him, and this crushed everything he had worked for, and he abandoned everything he knew and exiled himself to Mount Silver. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, several explanations to where Red actually went and why. Trainer Red does appear in the World Tournament later on in the Black and White 2 series, so that's something, I guess. Let me know which explanation you think is right in the comments below, and if you're still signed in, would you please share my video with others? We all know it was the Mew one, right? Red just wanted to complete his dex, right? It's silly to think he's a ghost. It's not like he vanishes after the battle instantly. And it's not like he ever went through the Lavender Tower either. Well, I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. And as always, good gaming, and God bless. Thanks for watching my video and making it to the end. If you want to see my theories a day early, make sure to head over to my Patreon, where donators get a day early viewing of my newest theories. And follow me over on Twitter to see my updates about certain videos and access to some cool unlisted hidden content as well. If you don't have Twitter, I am on Tumblr too, so be sure to check out my videos on your preferred social networks, or subscribe here on good old YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a while now, and I don't plan on going anywhere soon, so I hope you keep supporting me by liking the video and sharing it where you can on Facebook or Twitter or other forums as well. Thank you again for taking a bit of time out to support me, and I hope to see you here next time on Pokemon Theory. Please note that in all my videos, if I use images from Google, that I do not own any of those images, and all images obtained from Google are owned by their respective owners and copyrights. So please remember this when watching my Pokemon Theories. Thanks.